And welcome. In this video, we'll be covering Chapter 18 and going over the Mac OS, Linux, and scripting. All right. So Mac OS, formerly Mac OS 10, is proprietary software or OS that's available from Apple, and it is built on a Unix foundation. And then Mac keyboard has a few special keys. You have the command key, which is much like the Windows key on Windows. You have the launchpad and mission controls keypads. I'm actually on a Mac, but I don't have these keys on my wireless keyboard. But on a lot of Mac keyboards, you'll have these special keys. Right now, I'm recording from the Mac and displaying this on a Windows VM. So if I go and stop this, you'll see the little Windows icon down here, and I've got Windows running inside of my Mac. All right. So you have the Finder application. You can help find applications and data. So normally the Mac toolbar is down here on the bottom. I like mine on the side. And here's my Finder app. You can help find applications and things on your Mac. And the dock or toolbar, right, is normally at the bottom. Like I said, I've moved it to the right side of my screen just because it's more convenient for me over there. When a window is open, 3 circles in the left-hand corner let you manipulate the window. So basically, I open up here, so you've got the close, the minimize, and the expand buttons on Windows. On any of the windows that open up on a Mac, whereas on Windows it's over here on the right side, the Mac's on the left side. So like if I wanted to close my VM, I could close my VM with this dot right here. But I'm not going to do that because I'm using it to do this presentation. You've got the Apple menu up in the left, all right? So it's got all kinds of information here for the Apple menu. You have the menu bar, whatever app is available. So if I go back to my desktop, you'll have the Finder and some items up here. You got some status menus. You've got the spotlight, the search, right? You'll have my hard drives and some other stuff on the desktop, and then the dock, which has a launch pad, has the Finder, and finally the trash down here in the on the dock. Let's see here. Right, the Finder, it's just like the Windows Explorer in a lot of ways. It helps you find files, folders, applications, Mac utilities, tags. Launchpad is a combination of Windows Start and Programs and Features window. It shows all the apps installed on the computer. To open Launchpad, you can use a key, a gesture, or on the dock is Launchpad. And like I say, you can get your various applications, right, that are on the machine. You can click on an app to open it. To uninstall an app, press and hold the Option key, and an X will appear. So if I go over here and I press my Option key, apps that I can uninstall have an X on them, right? But so I'm okay with that. I'm not going to uninstall anything. Apple menu, you can put the computer asleep, you can restart, shut down, go to system preferences, which is how you change and customize the Mac settings. So here's an example of that. So if we go into the system preferences, all right, so here's the system preferences, and so if I just go, say I go into energy savers, I can change, what happens when it's on battery, when it's on power adapter, and then what they're saying here is that I can return to the main screen at any time by pushing these 9 dots. It brings me back to the system, right? And so that's the system preferences. Spotlight is just a search, right? So I can do a search and search for whatever I want. So like mission control app, which I can go here. Mission control allows for multiple desktop screens. So if I had another application open, I could create multiple desktops, and each desktop has its own space. But right now I just have the one desktop. And this just shows you that you can arrange the desktops, and you can manage and go back and forth between your desktops. Another thing is you can do the control up arrow to get to your desktops. Apple has an iCloud and an iCloud Drive, and so it gives you the ability to store files and sync content between your iPhones, iPads, or Windows desktop. So it's a great storage device, but you do have to pay for the storage over a certain amount. Keychain is a built-in password manager, right? So you can just go to Finder and then go to Applications and Utilities and Keychain, and then so you can manage all your passwords here. And this just shows an example of the keychain, and so you can name it and keep information for passwords for websites or your network, wireless, or whatever. You have a screen sharing option in system preferences. We can go to sharing, and you can turn screen sharing on, which could allow somebody to come in like remote desktop and see what you're doing. You do file sharing, printer sharing, all kinds of sharing options here. Once again, that's in the system preferences under sharing. Remote disk gives other Mac computers on the network access to the computer's optical drive. I don't have an optical drive. If I did, I could share it with other users on the network. Use it for installing software drivers. Terminal. So terminal is a Mac OS command prompt, basically. It's just like Linux and the command prompt on Windows, right? So you just open up terminal. You can find it in an application utilities folder. I've put it on my dock because I use it frequently. But so otherwise you could go to Finder, Applications, Utilities, and then Terminal. The app is here. But like I said, I've put mine on my dock so it's easily accessible. Here are some shortcut keys. You can read those on your own. I'm not going to go through all the shortcut keys. Just to say that the Option key, is like the Alt key, and then the Command key is like the Windows logo or Control key on Windows. Let's see here, because like you see, Command X, Command C, Command B would be Control X, Control C, Control V. So it's the same as the control key on Windows, and it's also like the Windows login button. So if I hit it, the Windows comes up. It acts like the hitting the Windows key. All right. So if you go to the Finder, you'll find the file structure, right? So I go here, and then I can find my file structures, my hard drive, my network drive, remote disk, and storage. If I could go on here, you can see my Mac hard drive has applications, library system, users, VMs. They mentioned a swap file. I really don't have my swap file, but I do have a host of VMs installed on here. Update OS drivers, so system preference and system preference and software update. I just went ahead in there, and I do have an update, so tonight it'll install a software update, or I could do it now, but I'm in the middle of a video presentation. This is just showing where the swap file normally goes. Doing some updates. Backup and time machine, right? So you can go system preferences and time machine. System preferences, time machine. This is where you do your backup. There's my storage for a backup. So I haven't done a backup of this machine in a long time. Or, well, I guess the latest backup was March 22nd. Next backup is in about 20 minutes. But so it's just backing up regularly to my external drive. Let's see here. Drive maintenance, you can empty the trash down here in the lower right. You can free up space and install your updates, verify no startup items, remove login items, restart your computer occasionally, and uninstall unneeded apps. We have a repair disk utility under utilities folder, and then you normally have the Apple file system as the main supported file system, but then you have some other extended file systems like the hierarchical file system plus. It can also use FAT32 and extended FAT, and you can use first aid and the disk utility to scan the hard drive for file system errors. I'm not going to do that. You can enter the safe mode and use repair disk utilities. After you hear the startup sound, press and hold the shift key while it's starting up. Verify the computer booted in safe mode, open system information, and the software group look for boot mode, which should report it's in safe mode. And you can try to fix problems and then restart the computer and see if the problem is solved. And you can also delete startup and login items you suspect are causing a problem. So here's the system information, right? The boot mode is safe. Right. Mac OS recovery, turn on the Mac and press and hold the Command R key until you see the Apple logo. Then you'll have the available options available. You can restore from a time machine backup, you can reinstall the OS, or you can use a disk utility. That's the Mac recovery. Startup Manager NetBoot. When you press the Option key at startup, the Startup Manager screen appears, allows you to select your boot device. If you want to boot to a deployment server to reinstall macOS from a disk image, you use the NetBoot. So NetBoot searches for a disk image stored in a DMG file on a Mac server. right? So a DMG file is just similar to an ISO or WIM file that we dealt with Windows. It's just an image, a disk image that gets laid down and installed. Obviously can't do that. One, I don't have a Mac server, and two, I'm using this Mac to record the video. But this is choosing the startup disk. Now, Boot Camp is a utility that can allow you to install and run Windows on your Mac computer. It splits the partition, installs Windows in a new partition for a dual boot, and you can access the Boot Camp system through the utilities folders. But and so that's for a dual boot. You can boot into Windows or you can boot into Mac. I'm using VMware Fusion for Mac, so it's VMware for Mac. So I can run Windows and Macintosh simultaneously. I'm running on Mac OS, but on Windows VMware, I'm running Windows, and I am also running Linux as well. So, oh no. All right, so now let's just do this. I don't remember this, so I'm going to restart this and hope that frees up, because I don't remember the password on that one. So Linux is a variation of Unix, and it can be used for desktop servers, mobile devices. Most phones use Linux. Android and Apple both use a Linux flavor. And then Android and Chrome are based off of Linux. Linux is a kernel for the OS and not a complete OS. You have a shell for the user and application interfaces as needed. So many distributions of Linux include a GUI shell or desktop, which is called a Windows Manager. And this is Ubuntu, which is what I have over here on the other device. Oh man, this is not going to work. Oh well, all right. So we'll put that one to sleep. Let's see, do I have another? I don't think I have another one. Let's see what that one is. All right. So you can install software, do updates, configure backups in the utilities folder. Windows Server has a command line terminal, just like the terminal on the Mac OS. Linux file system, right, is extended 4. It's the current file system, but it can do extended 3 in the FAT32 and NTFS. Here are the directories. I am not going to read all of them, but like the /bin contains programs and commands, /etc. Contains system configuration data. /var holds variable data such as log, emails, news, principals, things like that. So they break up the directories depending on what type of files and stuff are stored in each directory. You have a root account that is able to install updates, manage backups, settings, set up user accounts, reset passwords. It requires root privileges to access all the functions of the OS, and you can do a sudo. Let's see, that didn't work. All right. 2 ways Linux allows for root privileges: super user, regular user, and then to switch it is SU, and you can also use the sudo sudo for single commands. But you do SU and you become root, and then everything you do is at a root level. Let's see here, wildcards, question mark is similar to Windows, it's just one character. The brackets give you a choice of characters. You can redirect output with the greater than symbol. You can page out the output by typing the more command. So let's just see, I can even try it here. So copy to server, so let's do cat copy to server .sh pipe more. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it's nothing. It's not too long. Sorry. Let's do. Okay, so here's some code. I did the pipe more, so it stopped part way, and if I hit space, then I can see the rest of it. So the pipe more stops it from printing, and then allows you to page through a long file. Use Control-C to break out of the command, just like you do on Windows. VI editor, that's how you can create some text files. So if I do VI this .text, I'm going to create a text file. So this is my file, right? So then I have to escape out, and if I hit a :W, that will write and save the file. :Q will quit the file. If I go back in, I can go back in and edit the file. So I can do a WQ and write and quit. And then if I go in, let's go back in, and let's just say I make a change and I don't like it, I could do a :Q exclamation point, and it will exit, and I go back in and nothing changed, so it won't change it. It'll exit without changing. Yeah. All right. So you can update Linux from the shell prompt. You can do a sudo. Remember, doing sudo elevates you to root user, and then app-get update will look for updates, and then to update all the installed packages, you can do a sudo apt-get upgrade, and it'll update all installed packages that have updates. To update to a new release of Ubuntu server, right? You run sudo apt-get install update manager core, and the latest release of Ubuntu server, you can do sudo do release upgrade. All right, so assigning permissions of folders, right? Permissions can be assigned to owner, other users, and all users. The chmod command is used to manage permissions for files and directories. To see the current permissions, use the ls-l, and I can do that on my Mac because it works the same on the Mac. So if I do an ls-l, right, it has the permissions, the first three. D it's a directory. So this one here is not a directory, it has a minus. But so the first three go for the owner. The next three go for other users, and then the last 3 go for all users, right? So this file here, this login sh, I can read, write, and change. Others can read, write, and change. The staff group, right? Whoever's in my staff group can read, write, and change. And then everybody else can read and execute a login script, right? So in here's a breakdown, right? So if it's a directory, it has a D. The first 3 are the owner's permissions. The next 3 are group permissions. The last 3 is everybody else, all other permissions. You can have links. Who's the owner? Who's the group? Size and bytes, class modified, and then directory or file name, right? Right, so then it's just showing you how to add users, how to make a directory, how to update the owner of the file. Right, so this sudo cheon Carlos makes Carlos the owner, and the group of Carlos, there's a group named Carlos that has now got access to this directory. And then this is removes write permissions from the file directory for all but Carlos. So it's just making a home directory, creating a user account and then creating its home directory. For primary utilities, shell prompt or telnet and sh. Sh is secure, telnet is not. So you really would use SSH instead of telnet. So you can telnet or you can do an SSH with a username. SSH is preferred because it's encrypted. All right. So really, Windows, Mac, and Linux, they all have a lot of similar features, and it's really just a personal preference. Probably Windows and Macs are more suited for desktops, but Linux is getting there as well. Server applications, definitely Linux is definitely popular for web servers, email servers, and DNS servers, but Windows Server and Active Directory is definitely way more popular in controlling and securing network corporate environments for a large amount of users. Having Windows workstations and Active Directory is so much easier to manage and maintain than any other version of operating systems. But you definitely need to know the end of life when the vendors are going to stop supporting things. Let's see, and then Mac OS, Linux are definitely more compatible with each other than with Windows, but there's a lot of similarities between them. And as you can see, also though, there's no reason you can't run all of them on one machine. Although Mac OS really should only be and can only be run on Mac hardware, so there is that limit. But it's really just personal preference on that. I have a Mac just mainly because I have students that have Macs, and us having a Mac allows me to help them. But I'm comfortable with Mac, Linux, and Windows, but I do like the fact that because I have the Mac, I can run all 3 on the same machine at the same time, and I can see what other students or others are using and help them out a little better. So that's just one of the reasons that I have that. And then FAT32 can be read by all 3 systems, which makes it easy and convenient for sharing files. Right, so then scripting, right? So if you're going to do something repetitively over and over, it's best to create a script for it. And then here are the various extensions, right? So .bat like we did in our labs. A .ps1, that's PowerShell, which is a more powerful way to script on Windows. We didn't get into it because it's a little more complicated than a batch script. But if you are going to manage Windows systems, definitely encourage you learning PowerShell. You can do a lot with bat files, but with PowerShell, you can do just about anything you can think of on a Windows environment. .vbs, it's VBScript. It's gone away. It's not really as secure. It is out there, but it's not recommended anymore. .sh, that will run on Linux and Mac OS systems. .py is Python. I highly encourage anyone that is getting into network support or just security, things like that. You might want to learn Python. Is a good way to automate things. It's the up and coming language. .js for JavaScript. That's more for web developers and things like that. I mean, you can do some scripts with it, but I'd recommend Python over that. In fact, Python and PowerShell would be my two big recommendations as far as scripting languages to learn. So environment variables, right, sometimes called system variables, makes it easy to script the OS. There's just certain built-in variables that you can leverage in your scripts. Let's see, right, common syntax is just how you can mark up your script, leave yourself notes in the script so it's easier to read, because if you get 100 or 1,000 lines of code in your script, you might want to leave notes for the next person that's coming in that has to read or learn your script, figure out what it's doing, so you can comment and leave notes. Basic loops allows you to run certain commands multiple times if certain conditions are met. Variables like environment variables, they're a way to store data, and that can be reused and assigned. So it just makes it more easy to use. You'll learn more about that in the programming classes. Two common data types are integers, just numbers, and then strings are text. Let's see here, this is just running a very simple script called myscript.sh, and all it does is print out the word hello world, right? So basically they created it by doing echo hello world into my script. All right, so let's just do that. So we can do echo hello world into my script.sh. All right, so we did that. We do ls-l. We see that my script is out there, but it is only read-only right now. So I need to do a chmod u equals rwx my script.sh. All right, so let's do a -l again. So now it's executable, right? So now I got an X on there. So now if I do a /my script, it echoes hello world, right? So now I've got it. I've got a script that just echoes the word hello world out there. So I can create a while loop, So I is a variable. I'm initializing it to 0, and then I say while I is less than 3, do this command, write output hello world, and then add 1 to I. So then, so it'll do the output 3 times and then stop. And that is our chapter covering Mac OS, Linux, and script